Episode 52 of This and That and What a Fuck. This one I will be talking about happenings in the Donbass, so a little bit about the Baltic, but mostly about the Donbass. But we're starting off here in Angola. Amid the electoral gridlock, it was reported by local media that the militants loyal to the MPLA current regime violently invaded an office belonging to UNITA, Angola's centre-right opposition party, beating up local civil workers and burning property. After the incident, calls for reprisals by UNITA supporters spread on social media, despite numerous attempts by opposition leaders to prevent political violence. And that is Africa for you. That is how democracy works in Africa. If your party lose, you burn the other place down. And then we're in the Baltics. Now there are Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia, which interfere with Russian transit and indeed with everything Russian. The parliamentarian noted that these countries are doing everything for Russia to demilitarize them. The only problem is that the Baltic political gnomes can still provoke the fourth big war in Europe, and this is not only a matter of their provincial choice. Earlier, the Russian Foreign Ministry promised to take action in response to the demolition of Soviet monuments in the Baltics. They stressed that in response to the Russophobic actions of the Baltic republics, the country will take asymmetric measures, primarily in the political and economic spheres. Those three little Baltic countries, they are really cruising for a bruising. And then this is just a little bit of history. I can remember this. It was many years ago and it was a tragedy. An action dedicated to the victims of the terrorist attack in Beslan is taking place on the Cathedral Square in Tsinvali. Hundreds of people came to honor the memory of the victims. People carry water, soft toys, flowers to the monument to the grieving angel. That was a sad story. And then here's a little bit of Biolab news. The Russian Defense Ministry. Next week, the Russian Federation will present in Geneva documented evidence of violations by the United States and Ukraine of the Treaty on the Prohibition of Biological Weapons. And then there's a chart with all the stuff in it, and I'll give you a bigger version of it. You can pause the video and look through that if you want to. But as I said in previous Skidmarks, the Russians are working on the information that they collected from those biolabs. And now we're in the Donbass. Ukrainian doctors doubt whether it was worth arranging an offensive at such a cost. The head of the intensive care unit where the wounded are being treated told the Wall Street Journal that the military had given him a week's notice of the attack, stoking hopes of an early victory. But when they began to bring in such large numbers of wounded, then, frankly, I felt sorry for them and I began to wonder if it was worth doing at such a price. The doctor said, "I don't know, there is no right answer here." The doctor said he felt on the verge of a breakdown as he dealt with more soldiers than at any time since the first week of the war. And that was after that abortive counter-offensive in Kherson. That bloody Zelensky. Something must be done to get rid of that guy. And then here is another tragedy. AFU destroyed a church in Berislav in the liberated Kherson region. The woman who was in the temple died, our special correspondent reports. 2 strikes were inflicted by Ukraine from HIMARS MLS on the Church of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary on Gogol Street. And listen to that, shot with those HIMARS missiles. What the fuck is going on in the head of that Ukrainian? They get all that fancy weapons from the West and then they use it against the civilians. So the Western taxpayers, you guys should be very happy. This is what you are financing. Your tax dollars at work. And here's more from that attack. Kindergarten and school, fortunately no one was hurt there. But the woman who was in the church died. Ukrainian nationalists again fired at the employment center of the Kherson region, hitting a nearby temple. After the missile attack, only ruins remained of the temple building. The Russians must fuck them up properly. President Putin has said that the residents of Donbass consider themselves part of the humanitarian, cultural and language space shared with Russia. And that's important to take notice of. That's the main reason why Russia is there in the first place, for the Russians. Here's some more civilian bombing. Devastating aftermath of Ukraine strikes in Kherson, South Ukraine, with unknown number of casualties as the rescue teams work to remove rubble where people may still be trapped. Look at that. That's looks like a flat block of flats. And here is the shot. There was more, but it was very gruesome. Donetsk DPR, more footage of the local supermarket of Jora shelled by Ukrainian army. How the fuck do they shoot a supermarket? How is that possible? That is war crimes. But no, the West don't want to listen to anything like that, because Zelensky is the angel. He can do nothing wrong. And then, this is a bit for that inspectors that went to Zaporizhia. The UN thanks Russia for having stopped the Ukrainian amphibious attack on the nuclear power plant this morning, and for having ensured the safety of the inspectors of the IAEA, which depends on the UN. Do you think the corrupt media will relay this information? No, they will not. They will not. And here's more from the supermarket bombing. Ukrainians shall eat a local supermarket. There's a person on a trolley there. And then this is interesting. 20,000 Zaporizhia residents signed a letter to the IAEA telling them that it was the Zelensky regime that was shelling the nuclear plant. The Western media, of course, won't say a word about this, much less show the video. The free press will continue lying. I cannot put it in words how much I loathe the MSM currently. And here is something that should make Zelensky's little heart bounce a bit. Maybe, but mostly because carpet bombing is NATO's war strategy, not of the Russians. They aim at military objects. No sense to leave scorched earth where you will stay to restore the infrastructure and care for the people. See all those cars returning home to the Russian-held areas? And it was a hell of a lot of cars. Those inspectors from the IAEA, they sat at one control point. They sat for apparently 3 hours. They couldn't believe the traffic, and it was all cars coming from the Ukrainian side into the Russian side. But will the media show it? No. And then we've got Kadyrov. This is the guy from the Chechen Republic. He's quite an aggressive guy. Akhmat on offensive are actually advancing in the direction of Soledar, Yakovlevka, Seversk. The pause that has been sustained for tactical purposes lately has fully justified itself. Thanks to the plan we have developed, the inspired enemy has revealed all his positions. And this is in response to the media reporting that the Russians are stuck. And then we've got, I'm going to read you a few tweets from Gonzalo Lira on that Energodar attack. This is the rumor of what happened at Energodar, but it seems to fit the details. Boris Johnson himself was pushing for this insanity. A group of British-trained Ukraine commandos would stage an amphibious raid on Energodar as a beachhead for a larger attack group. Their plan was to take the International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors as hostages and mine the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Get this, they would pretend to be Russian commandos so that they could blame it on the Russians. They intended to use these hostages and the fear of the nuclear disaster to force Russia to evacuate from all of Ukraine. The plan would imply, of course, that they intended to kill the IAEA inspectors so as to prevent them from later telling people that it had been a ruse. The Russians appear to have foiled this whole operation, destroying 47 commandos, but capturing at least 2 and an additional 2 who are in critical condition. If they survive, the Russians will have 4 witnesses who can testify to this insanity. Whoever thought that this was a rational, reasonable plan is beyond desperate. This is insanity on a major scale. It's global nuclear blackmail. And the current information points to MI6 and Boris Johnson. According to the current rumor, it was the British MI6 that planned this insane operation from their suburban offices in Kiev at the behest and encouragement of Boris. Boris wanted one final victory in Ukraine before he departs 10 Downing Street. If this is more or less a story, then the Brits have lost their minds. Already Ukrainian propaganda is denying that this attack on Zaporizhzhia NPP even happened, and that is all a Russian fake. By the way, the Kherson offensive is a complete disaster. Thousands, plural, of troops will have lost their lives for nothing. We are coming to the end of this nightmare, but I believe it will get much worse with more insane schemes before it's all truly and finally over. And one thing I know, Gonzalo Lera doesn't tend to suck stuff out of his thumbs. And if what he has posted here is true, that Boris Johnson is a bigger idiot than I imagined. That man is evil. That whole, but in any case, all the Western leaders that are promoting this fucking war in Ukraine, they are all evil. And let's get to some good news. In Mariupol, the first 3 houses built by the military construction company by order of the Ministry of Defense were commissioned. 278 1, 2 and 3 room apartments are completely ready for occupancy. They even have interior decoration. And here is a photograph of the buildings. It's beautiful buildings. I am absolutely amazed. We've been brainwashed to believe in that square concrete blocks that the Russians built. Look at these buildings. Look at that nice trimming. It looks really great. And from another angle, and this is impressive. And I have seen this in many videos that I've seen of bloggers that show you life in Russia. Look at this outdoor gym. Look at the quality of that equipment. Look at that. And almost every town and city and complex has got something like this. This makes me think that the Russian people are actually instinctively aware of the value of being fit. But I am glad to see this. And Mariupol is raised from the ashes. And then we get to that what a fuck, and this is a South African what a fuck, and you will be stunned by it. The people selling matric certificates online are also trying to make a living. Those certificates are the same as the ones you get from us. The quality is unbelievable. I am impressed. Angie Mocheka. Now that is the Minister of the Education. Read through that and let it sink in that this comes from the Minister. A real fucking clown world that we have here, as Alex would have said. This is for me a real what the fuck is that? But in any case, that is what the majority want. I vote for them. And on that note, please vote for me. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and share the thing. Have a great evening.